Hello guys and gals, welcome back to creepypastas, yeah! This week we're not doing a gaming creepypasta, but instead we're doing a pretty popular creepypasta called Jeff the Killer. This creepypasta begins with an excerpt from a newspaper that states, "Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of murders, an unknown killer is still on the rise and little evidence is found. One boy, however, manages to live and tells us a tale of how he met Jeff the Killer. He wakes up in the middle of the night and sees that the window's open, even though he was sure it was closed. The boy tried to go to sleep, but noticed that there were two eyes between the curtains. And then eventually the figure behind the curtains just simply said, 'Go to sleep,' in a madman-like voice. The boy fought back and managed to live. As soon as his father broke in, the killer threw a knife at the father and struck him into the shoulder. As soon as the cops were called, the killer just ran into the distance and disappeared. The boy, however, can never forget the killer's horrific face." The creepypasta now focuses on Jeff and his family moving into a new neighborhood. Life was going great, Jeff's father got a promotion, and they'd be living in a very good neighborhood. One of the neighbors greeted Jeff's family, and invited Jeff and his brother Lou to his son's birthday party. But as soon as Jeff and Lou were about to reject, Jeff's mother agrees for them. Jeff later asks his mother why she did this, and she simply states they gotta show their neighbors that they want to spend time with them. Jeff couldn't argue with his mother and simply gave up and, he went to bed. Jeff got this weird feeling though, and he decided to dismiss it once his mother called him down to get his stuff. On the next day, Jeff woke up and got ready for school, and while eating breakfast, he got this weird feeling again, like it was tugging at him. This feeling was much stronger this time. Jeff and Lou were at the bus stop, waiting for the bus, obviously. All of a sudden, some skateboarder jumped over, only inches above their lap. Jeff and Lou jumped back and grew agitated against the skateboarder. The skateboarder was about 12 years old, about a year older than Jeff. The skateboarder and his two friends simply walked up to Jeff and Lou and said, well, it looks like we got some new meat." One of the friends was skinny, while the other was the size of a planet. The three introduced themselves, and the skinny one was Keith, the fat one was Troy, and the main one on the skateboard was Randy. One of the kids pulled a knife out and took Lou's wallet. Jeff grew angry and got this weird feeling again, except it was stronger this time, just a burning sensation. He asked Randy to give the wallet back. Randy pulled a knife out and even asked what Jeff would do. Jeff punched one of the kids in the nose, snapped Randy's wrist, and grabbed his knife. Keith attempted to attack Jeff with his knife, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Troy attempted to attack Jeff, but Jeff simply punched Troy in the stomach so hard that he threw up. Lou was shocked at Jeff's fighting ability and asked Jeff how he could even fight like this. Jeff couldn't respond once he saw the bus come, and knew that if they were seen, they'd be blamed, and instead ran as far as they could. They reached the school and went through the class, without mentioning this incident. Lou thought of it as his brother fighting some bullies, but Jeff knew it was something scary, and how he had this urge to just cause harm to someone. On the next day, the police visited Jeff's home about the fight. The police said that they saw 3 kids, 2 stabbed and 1 with bruises, and witnesses stating that they saw Jeff and Lou fleeing the scene. The police told Jeff it would be a year in juvenile hall. Lou rushed down and told the cops that it was him, even though it wasn't. Jeff protested, but it was no use. The police took away Lou for his year in juvenile hall. No one would believe Jeff, and on the next day, Jeff's mother woke him up and said they were going to the party. The same child whose parent came by to invite Jeff and his brother. Jeff left. He wore a white hoodie, and his mother hurriedly brought Jeff and his father along because they had to go. And when Jeff reached there, it was just a yard full of kids, and they were playing in weird cowboy costumes, and one kid came up to Jeff and asked, "Wanna play?" Jeff simply said no, and that he was too old for this kind of stuff. The child kept persisting though, and Jeff finally agreed. He put on the hat and started to pretend to shoot the kids with the fake pistols, and at first he thought it was ridiculous, but then he began to enjoy it. Finally, Randy, Troy, and Keith jumped over the fence into the yard. Randy had an angry look. Jeff said that they were even because he beat the crap out of Randy, and Randy got his brother sent to juvie. Randy grew even angrier and started to attack Jeff. Troy and Keith pulled out guns and stated that no one would interrupt or else guts would fly. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy kept on kicking Jeff on the ground. Jeff tried to stand up, but Randy grabbed him and threw him through the patio door. Randy smashed a bottle of vodka over Jeff's head, and eventually Jeff stood, his face covered in blood and vodka. Finally, he got that strange feeling again, and at this point, Jeff's psyche was shattered, completely destroyed, all rational thinking gone, and all he can do is kill. Jeff grabs Randy, throws him to the ground, punches him so hard in the heart that it causes it to stop beating, and blood just rushing out of Randy's body. Troy and Keith began opening fire on Jeff. Jeff ducks into a nearby bathroom, grabs a towel rack, and Keith and Troy rush in. Jeff bangs a towel rack into Troy's face, and Troy goes down at this point, and only Keith is left. Jeff tries to attack Keith with the towel rack, but fails because, Keith is more athletic. Keith pushes Jeff into the wall, and a bottle of bleach falls down and burns both of them in the face. They both start to scream. Jeff wipes his eyes and sees Keith lying on the ground, smiling. Jeff asks what was so funny. Keith simply said that Jeff had bleach and alcohol all over his face. He threw a lighter at his face, and Jeff's face caught on fire. He rushed down in flames. Jeff later awoke in a hospital, covered in bandages. Jeff's mother rushed in and greeted her son and told him that the police would let Lou go because he was innocent. After a few weeks, however, Jeff's bandages were removed and everyone was in shock. Jeff's face was pale white, lips burned to a dark shade of red, and hair a completely black color, changing from his original brown hair color. His face having a leathery feel too. Jeff said it was perfect. He laughed uncontrollably. Jeff's mother even asked the doctor if he was okay, in the head. The doctor said he's perfectly fine. And because of the painkillers that he took, this is perfect behavior. So, they go home, and his mom awakes to Jeff in the bathroom. Jeff's mom looks at Jeff, and Jeff carves smiles into his cheeks. He burns out his eyelids. Jeff's mom told Jeff that, she was getting his father to see how pretty he looked, even though she was scared as hell. Jeff's mother told her husband to get a gun. Jeff was behind them in the doorway and told his mother that she lied, before gutting his parents. Jeff's brother woke up to the noise, but he tried to fall asleep because he didn't notice anything. But then he saw Jeff above him. Jeff simply put his hand over Lou's mouth and proceeded to stab him as he said the words, "Shh! Just go to sleep." Well, we finally did it. Jeff the Killer. Oh man, I'm telling you, it was a tough time reading this one, just summarizing. It was just so intense. I gotta tell you, this actually creeped me out. There are so many things this creepypasta does that are just great, such as build-up. Again, build-up is important, and in this case, we saw the build-up of Jeff, who I assume is suffering from some dual personality disorder. And I'm glad we see the decline of his, psyche, because if we didn't, Jeff wouldn't have been as creepy. He'd just been another serial killer. We know that Jeff is a good person. He sticks up for what he believes in and defends himself and those around him when he sees injustice. And deep down, of course, we know he's a good person. We know that. But then we see him go into Jeff the Killer. It's almost the same way as Brever from Dead Channel. And I didn't mention this then, and other commenters did, when they stated that Brever also had some form of humanity or morality or consciousness in him. But he was just overshadowed by, all this other evil and negativity. And it in turn made him creepier as well. I mean, you can't help but feel bad for Jeff because he's a good person, but ultimately he's a lost cause because now he's just a killer with no remorse. I mean, that's what I like about Jeff the Killer. That's what separates him from, other serial killers like Hidaka, because he's developed, because we know he's a good person deep down inside. Another thing I liked was how it felt realistic. It seems like an extreme case, but let's be honest. This is something you can possibly see happening. And, maybe if there was a killer, he wouldn't look just like Jeff, but the personality and character would surely exist, and that alone adds more realism, which is always great. The one thing I didn't really like about this were the bullies. I'm not kidding, they were... they really killed the realism. I mean, I know in a way I'm nitpicking, but really pulling guns out and... they're just one-sided sociopaths. It just kills the realism. If they had more than one dimension, rather than what they were portrayed as now, it would have been a whole lot better. One thing I'm not scared of, though, is Jeff's face. It might come as a shock to you, but not even kidding with you guys, but come on, just take a look at his face. He kind of looks pretty cool if you look at him, okay? I mean, look... you can make it less scary, I mean, just look. It's not that bad, okay? Okay, it's not that bad. All in all, I think Jeff the Killer is an amazing creepypasta. Hell, it's even better than amazing. It's great. You know, it's like one of those